subscribing. I post once a week at this point, every Monday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Alright, so today's case is the case of Tyler Hadley, which is also called the Killer House Party. I kind of think it should be called the House Party Killer, but it doesn't really matter. So, let's go ahead and get into it. So, this case takes place in a town called Port St. Lucie, Florida. It's known to be a kind of quiet and dull town where there's not much going on at all, and there's not very much for teenagers to do to keep busy, other than having house parties and getting into trouble and using drugs. Or that's what they say. You know, that's what everyone says. Every article, every video, everything says that that is what the town is known for. Okay? I think someone needs to work on that town, though. This is a side note, but there's either put in some kind of recreation for these kids or help them to figure out other things to do. I mean, that's a bad excuse for kids to be all into drugs. I'm sorry. Anyway, let's get back to the story. So, keep that in mind. The town. So, Tyler Hadley was born in 1993. He had a mother and a father and an older brother. And now he was born a few weeks premature, and because of this, he did have to stay in the hospital for a little while before it was safe for him to go home. But his mother was a very good, loving mother, and she visited him every day at the hospital. Somebody had suggested that maybe during those few weeks when he had to stay in the hospital, he missed out on important baby mother bonding time. But I'm not an expert, but I don't think that that really is a factor. I mean, it was only the first few weeks of his life, and he was premature, and his mother came every day, and there were nurses doting on him constantly. I'm sure so that, no, I'm not buying that. And you guys are wondering, what did he do? You'll find out. I hope you're sitting, seriously. Okay, so he finally but he continued to tell his friends that. So, one day, he told his friends, or he went on Facebook, and he said, I am having a house party tonight. And they're all like, oh no, you're not. I mean, all these back and forth Facebook messages are out there, like you can read them, but basically what I took from them was just this. You know, he said he's gonna have a party, and they're all kind of like, no, you're not. Your parents will never let you. Because they had never let him in the past. But what parent lets their kid have a house party? That doesn't happen. The only way people have a house party is when their parents just happen to go away. So he said, no, it's happening. It is happening. They are going out of town, and it's gonna happen. Maybe. That's what he wrote. Maybe. ... So then he comes back online a couple hours later and he's like, it's on, no problem, come on over. So I believe about 60 people showed up to his house. And they trashed it, okay? Because most of them didn't even know him and nobody cared. So, I mean, literally just horrible, horrible mess. Like, if anyone would come home to see that, he would be in huge trouble. But he was not overly worried. They were playing beer pong, and at one point, the kid who threw the ball into the beer cup, he missed and it rolled under a table. And he went to retrieve it and it was covered in this sticky brown liquid. He's like, ew. He dunks it into the beer, cleans it off, and continues to play. So, at one point, Tyler says to one of his friends, I want to talk to you, come outside. And he says to the kid, I killed my parents. They're in the house. And the kid is like, oh, ha, yeah, right. And Tyler's like, no. Look at the driveway. Do you see their cars? Their cars are here. If they went away, why are their cars here in the driveway? So the kid's like, no way. Give me proof. I don't believe you. So Tyler shows him a bunch of blood in the garage. I'm not sure why there was blood in the garage, honestly, but... And the kid is like, what? And he's like, let me show you where they are. So he brings his friend up to his parents' bedroom, opens the door, and in there are his two parents, deceased, and tons of junk piled up in that room, basically on top of them. It was all the blood-coated items that he was unable to clean after he massacred them. So he just put everything in that room to get it out of the way for the party. The kid's like, whoa. But he didn't leave. And he didn't call the police. They closed the door. And they went back down to the party. And they continued partying until, I don't remember if it was like he dragged each of them up into their bedroom, and then he went to try to clean up the house as best as he could, and he obviously was not much of a cleaner, being a 17-year-old kid. Did I ever mention he was 17? Well, he was. So he did what he could with like Clorox wipes and stuff like that, trying to clean up his mess, and so much of it he couldn't clean, so he just picked up chairs and things like that, and anything that he could move that had blood on it he just dumped into their bedroom on top of them. Then he closed the door and had a party. And that's basically it. So, being that he was 17, for some reason, that's a juvenile. Even though it confuses me so much because, well, this is Florida and they're pretty strict over there. Okay, like their laws are pretty strict and not flexible, but, and I've heard, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, if they do a really bad crime, then they're tried as an adult. But this guy, 17, almost 18, you know what I mean? He's 17. He's a juvenile. I don't get it. But I guess the only thing that saved him from was the death penalty. And I guess like they didn't clear him on like an insanity defense or anything. And he was given a life sentence without the possibility of parole. And supposedly he has stated that he's sorry, he shouldn't have done it. He apologized to his grandparents and his brother. But on the other hand, the inmates that he has been with have said that he calls himself Hammer Boy. Okay? He likes being called Hammer Boy. So, take that for what it's worth. So what do we think about this case? Is this kid 100% responsible? Are we going to say it happened because he lives in a boring town and there was nothing to do? No, none of us are going to say that. Are we going to say it's because of all the meds he was on? No, I'm not going to say that. I mean, it's unfortunate that he had a lot of meds, okay? That he had medical problems, that he had some mental health problems, and substance abuse problems. But there's no excuses there. Is it because of low self-esteem? No. I mean, the only thing I can see here is that it was his personal choice and personal responsibility, like, in this case. Like, especially because what I was saying about him being sober at one moment and having planned this crime for 3 weeks and then saying to himself, I better take some drugs so I can really do this. Like, you know what you're doing here. You have no excuses. It is so ridiculous. Like, what in the world? You don't like your parents. You're angry with your parents. You want freedom. Well, you're 17, okay? So wait a year and then get out. I just really wish I could know what he thought was going to happen afterwards. I mean, he had to know in a bedroom and closing the door is not a way to hide the evidence. So, I'm not really sure what to say about this case. But what do you guys think? Tell me in the comments what you think of this case, or if I have left anything out that is important to know. Okay, and so that is going to be it for today's case. I hope you found it to be interesting or thought-provoking. And as always, my heart goes out to the victims and the family members who were greatly affected